Good afternoon, glorious day, almost the Easter break. It's my break for 4 days. I'm off on a stag do, my own. I'm about to get married in 10 days' time, but I've got time to tell you about the latest package. Have you missed me? It's been almost 7 days since I received anything. But this one is the biggie. This one is a package. Look at that, it's almost as big as me. We're going to see what's in there. But it does feel like I've won the lottery. Jade II amplifier with the Jade II headphones are now in place. Connected up in output on the right. And the balanced RCA switch. So out for RCA. The power switch is on and takes about 6 seconds, so the light flashes white. I'll just show you that. So that's off. And that's powering up to the appropriate voltage, and now it's reached the voltage, it's gone solid white. So at the back, connected into the RCA, as you can see. The mains is on, obviously, and we're connected into the Lampezator DAC 4, which in turn is being fed at the moment by SPDIF or Toslink into my MacBook Pro, and that will be running some Audivana Plus software, which I'm now going to use to have an initial listen, and I'll come back very shortly with my impressions. My cameraman and myself have spent the best part of half an hour swapping the Jade IIs with HiFiMan's Planar magnetic HE6, the original HE6. I've done some modifications on it. As you can see, I've taken off the dust covers. We've resoldered the terminals on the voice coils, and I've changed the headphone cable to Y-Wires custom headphone cable. That's plugged into the benchmark DAC 1 USB, and we volume matched that and connected the benchmark DAC 1 USB into the HiFiMan Electrostatic headphone amp. So we were able to listen to the headphone output on the benchmark. At the same time, we were able to listen to the headphone output on the Electrostatic amp. That's the closest I can get to some sort of comparison, because I haven't got any more electrostatic headphones. I have had electrostatic headphones in the past. Now, if any of you are wondering what the difference between an electrostatic headphone and a planar magnetic headphone are, planar magnetic headphones have to be heavier because they use magnets, and the magnets have coils of wire pushed into them, and then the magnets are glued to a cone, and then an electrical current is passed through the cone to make it push back and forwards. Whereas with an electrostatic headphone, they're going to be lighter because they don't have any force actually pushed against them. They have a thin membrane, and a high current voltage is pushed near them, which makes the membrane move all at the same time. Theoretically, that should mean that they're lighter and that there's less distortion. Then you should be able to achieve with a planar magnetic headphone. You need an electrostatic amplifier because it needs to produce over 580 volts to make that action happen that produces the sound. Whereas in a conventional headphone amplifier, you don't need anything like that amount of voltage. I believe that one will produce 10 volts, which is way more than it actually needs, but it theoretically gives lots of headroom to the headphones. Now, the difference between the two in real life, those who love their planar magnetic headphones need not be ashamed and think, well, an electrostatic headphone is out that's the same price, and theoretically it should be an awful lot better because of the technology being used. There are differences between the two. I believe that what I'm hearing on the HiFiMan Jade IIs is the typical HiFiMan sound signature as found on their HE1000s, the Susvaras, the Shangri-Las, which is got plenty of bass, but is a very smooth, airy sound. The HE6 in contrast, just pick that one up and very carefully put those down. The HE6 in contrast has a punchier, crisper sound that is almost harsh, but not what could be described as harsh. I mean, it is a world-class headphone. I would say that the control of the Jade IIs is far better than the control on the HE6s, which makes everything easier to follow and less fatiguing over either harsh recordings or over extended lengths of time of listening. I found the vocals on the Jade IIs were easier to follow and they seemed more realistic, whereas my cameraman preferred the vocals on the HE6, I think because they just had a little bit more coloration to them, and I think they just came through a little bit easier in some parts of some of the recordings. But I think when the recordings got really dense with lots of instruments and the vocalist trying to get through, like on, for instance, Iron Maiden's Book of Souls, which is a very well produced recent CD by them, I thought that the Jade II retained a control over them, and although it produced some of the rawness of sound, it smoothed it out in comparison to the HE6. I'll be very interested to see what the HE6 SE sounds like compared to the Jade II, because I think the HE6 SE is likely to be a slightly higher price than the Jade II. So we're going to give you a conclusion now, I think, because I don't want to make this overly long, as this is just my first impression, but I think that if you've got $2,500 to spend and you want really top class sound, and you want to stop looking for what the most perfect headphone experience might be, then the Jade II has got to be something that you'd have to look at, provided you've got the space to store another piece of equipment, which is what you'll need with the electrostatic amplifier. These are so light and so comfortable and so well built that they're never going to feel at all uncomfortable on your head. And gone is the need to swap headphone cables. As you can see, these are soldered in, so these are not swappable. I think HiFiMan will have a great deal of success with the Jade II. I think they are comparable with stacks that I've heard. Of course, I haven't got any stacks that I can compare them with right now, but I think that they are onto a winner, and I think that what they've done is they've created the HiFiMan sound signature as is their stock tuning on many of their headphones, and they've used the electrostatic technology to very good effect. The headphone amplifier has a 21-point potentiometer. Between clicks 5 and 6, 5 seems just right on most tracks, and 6 seems too much, so there's not a lot of leeway on that. Obviously one can adjust the source volume if it's really needed, but other than that, that really is nitpicking. I think it's extremely well made, and my first impressions are very favourable, so well done HiFiMan. Thank you very much for the loan, and particularly thanks goes out to Mark Ramos. And until the next instalment, we'll see you again soon.